Hi, I'm John from Just Whiskey. If you like today's show, give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, check in the description for all the bells and whistles, Patreon, and the like. Today, we are going to be talking about and reviewing the brand new Diageo Special Release 2025 Clynelish 18-year-old cask strength, natural cask strength. It does not state no coloring added or non-chill filtered. However, it's not colored. That's for 18-year-old. It's in refill casks. It's not colored, and I don't think any of the Diageo special releases are colored. They call them natural cask strength, and I believe that's what it is. As far as chill filtration, it's definitely filtered. It's definitely heavily filtered. Whether it's chill filtered or not, I don't know. None of the special releases have ever said that, but that's my belief on that. So they call this the Waxen Sun. Comes in at 51.6% ABV, and they call it a sunny tropical taste. Enlivens waxy honey character. And I am going to read the blurb in the back because it's relevant. But I'm going to leave out some of the flannel. So, here we go. The signature character of Clynelish Distillery is imbued with a sweet tropical vibrancy from a unique experiment in which a cut of the liquid is drawn early in a distillation process when tropical flavor notes are prevalent. We call this the pineapple cut. Matured for at least 18 years in refill casks, I'm assuming ex-bourbon, they don't say, but I'm assuming that. Notes of lush, ripe pineapple enliven the taste of wax and honey. Experience the feeling of that perfect place in the sun. Okay. But, so, the Reader's Digest version of that is 18 years ago when I can't imagine them planning 18 years in the advance, but that's what they're saying they did, which is hard to fathom, really. Most, even like Lafroy, Carchus, and all these things, they're planning 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the future. 18 years is a stretch, but you never know. It very well could be. But so they're taking the cuts from the early distillation. That's what they found to have the most pineapple tropical notes. So if they say that, it has to be true. Okay. Price-wise, get a home equity line. It's not cheap. 170 pounds, which is the equivalent of about 240 US. But I think the MSRP on this in the US is probably closer to 250, which is just crazy. Going by the old adage of most, even current independent bottlers, they base their prices on $10 to $11 cask strength single cask per year. So if this was a single cask release by Single Cask Nation, as an example, it would be at a single cask of this would be $180 US, which is probably about 130, 140 pounds, right? That's kind of the going rate for independent bottlings. And the sweet spot for Clynelish is 17, 18-year-old range. I did pregame a little bit and compared this to 3 different batches of Clynelish 14. And I compared it to the Game of Thrones. So really quick, so compare it to the Game of Thrones. which is a high ABV, 51.2% non-age stated, which is the equivalent of the Clynelish Distillery exclusive, my understanding. So that one there leans a little more into the vanilla cream, okay? And Clynelish 14, which I can still find in my area for $50 at 46% ABV, non-chill filtered, probably a little bit of color added. All the batches look exactly the same as far as color, but there is dramatic batch variations with Clynelish 14. I have 3 open bottles, which I've reviewed and done incredible comparisons to, but 2 out of the 3 are like 6 or 7s out of 10, and one of them is like a 9 out of 10. So it's like the luck of the draw kind of a thing. They release a lot of batches. They operate 7 days a week. It's a Scottish Highland single malt. All right, enough banter. This is going to be a decent review, an honest review. So, on the nose, you're getting a little bit of sourness, a little floral, and a little bit of vanilla. And if you use your imagination, there are definitely some tropical fruits in there. And I will agree, let's just say pineapple, but there's no stone fruits in there. There's no peach, there's no apricot, there's no plums, but probably a little bit of apple, pear, hint of vanilla, a hint of mint, menthol, eucalyptus. All right, palate. Wow, it's really nice. Creamy vanilla, sweet, waxy. It benefits tremendously from a drop or 2 of water and time in the glass. This has been opened, and I had two different drams, one with a couple of drops of water and then one straight off the cask. They sat for 30, 40 minutes, and then I poured them together, and this is the end result right here. This glass has been sitting for well over an hour. It really benefits from a little bit of water and a lot of time. So this is not a pour and play. The brand new Talisker 14 is a pour and play. This is not a pour and play. Pour it and don't even cap it. Pour a couple drops of water, half a teaspoon maybe if you're pouring a big dram. Let it sit for an hour and you will be rewarded. Does have a decent amount of oak spice. Finish is very dry, waxy, dry, sweet, syrupy. Those tropical notes are coming around really nice now. Again, I cannot stress enough, this is not a pour and play. You must let this sit in the glass with a couple drops of water for an hour before you even go at it. Trust me, I've done my research. There are only 2 or 3 distilleries that are known for their waxiness. This is the paramount. Clynelish is known for the waxiness. I just recently listened to an interview with a distillery worker at Clynelish, and he did acknowledge that years ago, well, forever, they didn't really clean their equipment, and they had this like black sludge develop that they've just never bothered with, and that led and added to the quote waxiness. Then the new owner a while back came in, and he saw this and he thought it was complete neglect, and he said, listen, I don't want any of that black sludge in my distillate. Clean everything out. And they did. And then they came back and they said, we're not getting the same traditional Clynelish anymore. So what they did was they added in this, they kept a certain amount of this black sludge, and supposedly they just keep adding it back in the process somehow. And yeah, again, I can't stress enough, let this sit. Craig Alecky, 13-year-old, has a prominent pineapple note. This one here does too, if you give it time. All right. And the only distillery that's really known for waxiness is Deanston. I've never had Deanston 18-year-old. That would be a nice comparison to this. And then the Dalyuan is also known to have a waxiness to it. But I don't have a Dalyuan to compare this to. But wow. Time in the glass, a couple drops of water. Wow. So, is it worth the price? Probably not. But all these Diageo special releases, they're marketed to collectors. That's their main focus. And then a year or two later, in the UK, usually whatever doesn't sell is heavily discounted. In the United States, that doesn't happen because these are still considered allocated, and sometimes they sit for 2-3 years in the glass case shrines, growing whiskers and gathering dust. So, score-wise, I thought about this a lot, as you can tell. Giving it time in the glass, taking price out of the equation. It's a 7 out of 10. Very good. If you're a Clynelish fanatic, a completist, a Diageo collector, then you're probably going to want to buy this. But I would probably recommend seeking out independent single cask bottlings of a well-aged Clynelish, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old Clynelish. You're probably going to pay the equivalent of what this is. But boy, taking price into the equation, blind. So that's two things. Taking the price and considering it blind, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. But if I'm sampling it blind, I wouldn't know the price. So I would say it's a 6 out of 10. But time in the glass, you will be rewarded. Wow. And it'll elevate to a 7 out of 10. Right now, again, this has been open for well over an hour. Right now, it's pushing the limits of a 7. It could possibly be an 8 out of 10. But I'm going to stick with a 7 out of 10. It's priced too high for what it is. But yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And hats off to you all. Take care, folks, and I really hope you enjoyed this review. And if you stuck around to this point, you already know my next review is going to be the Diageo Special Release Open 12-year-old. Okay? And that'll be it, folks. Take care. Peace out.